At Subway, start your day the flavorful way by adding new guacamole to your favorite breakfast sandwich. Perfectly made with a hint of jalapeno, our guacamole turns up the flavor to your breakfast. Try it today on a hot and toasty egg, white, and cheese. Subway, eat fresh.
The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects. The BS Report. The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report. Just a programming note for today. We are not doing Guess the Lines with Cousin Sal because there are 2 Monday night games tonight, and that means 4 NFL games for week 2 will not have lines yet. So we're going to wait for him tomorrow, Tuesday, BS Report, Guess the Lines for week 2. In his place, we're going to have Andy Greenwald, the Grantland TV critic slash celebrator, and then we're going to call my dad, and that's going to happen at about the 45 minute mark. We're going to call my dad to talk about the Boston sports scene right now. So if you don't like Breaking Bad and you don't want to hear about Boston sports, I would say just click this podcast off right now. Spoilers coming up for Breaking Bad. We're going to call Andy Greenwald. TV, I don't like using the word critic. TV celebrator, Andy Greenwald. How are you?
Great. I love that. It's positive. You sound so good. I sound good. This is a whole new era for us.
Yeah. So last night, we expected a shootout. Actually, let me say, coming out of the gate, a lot of spoilers coming up. So if you haven't seen Breaking Bad yet, just turn the podcast off. I'm sorry. You can catch up after you've seen last night's Breaking Bad. But we expected a shootout in Giants-Cowboys. Instead, we got a shootout in Breaking Bad. My first question, it was a great episode. Would you have ended the episode with everybody pointing their guns at each other?
I feel like that would be the expected way to go. And the one thing we've seen, especially this season with the show, is they always push it one step further than you expect. Like, do you remember the season premiere? Everybody would have been fine with the final scene ending with Walt in Hank's garage and just, them staring at each other for a moment and then Walt leaving. And then all of a sudden he stops, turns around, and he just can't help himself. And we're all our jaws are on the floor. I felt like this was the natural extension of that.
Well, then why not why not have the shootout go all the way then?
I was thinking about this. I mean, it was agony, right? Are you hoarse right now because of the Pats yesterday or because of screaming at your TV after this episode ended?
No, I'm more sad about the Pats. I just feel the general sadness about barely beating Buffalo.
I don't want to bring this whole podcast down. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you don't.
I'll stay away from personal topics.
Thank you.
I loved it. I mean, and one of the reasons I loved it, and this is what I tried to write about in the recap today, is, we spent so much time getting really excited about the end of the show because we're confident that it's going to be like no ending ever and it's just going to be amazing and unforgettable. But it's also going to be painful. I mean, the story that has been told for 5.5 seasons now is one that has no real happy ending. And so the fact that it paused in mid-shootout with everyone, as far as we know, mostly still alive, I think that just gave us one more week to sort of imagine our friends, being together in the desert. I think it just would have been too dark, and there's so much darkness coming. I kind of like the way it hit pause in mid-heart attack.
After Walt was a step ahead of the game for the entire year, it's weird to think of it as a year because it's been 5 seasons, but it's really been like 14 months. But
yeah,
really a major slip up there with falling hook, line, and sinker for Jesse's phone call there, I felt like.
Well, the one thing that we've started to see these last few episodes is that he was a genius when he was Heisenberg, and he was Heisenberg outside of the home. Once he tried to bring that dark-hatted nonsense inside of the house, it never worked. And we saw that last week when he was just trying to, run a game on Skylar and his son about the gas leak, and he sounded ridiculous. And that's the sort of story that he'd been spinning to everyone, and everyone always seemed to believe it. And so this week we saw final, just the evidence, as if we were lacking it, but final proof that what undoes this guy more than anything else is just a complete overconfidence in himself. He really thought that he could just talk to Jesse. He could control the situation. He was in charge of it. If he could just talk to him, then it would all work out. And so it never occurred to him that maybe Jesse actually had a reason to be furious, that maybe Jesse would do the unthinkable and go to Hank. I mean, it actually was consistent with the character's just complete blindness to things that don't involve his own genius.
Do you think Jesse should have guessed that Hank hid the money in the desert where they cook for the first time? I was disappointed in him. And then I remembered he's a crack addict, and maybe I'm overestimating his intelligence.
I think you have to remember, you said it's only been a year. Do you remember how many binges and how many times he's gotten clean in 12 months? I mean, he was just basically snorting the exported product of Bolivia off of a CD tray, like in the equivalent of the show, like 8 hours ago? Yeah. So I think he's not at his best.
That's why I decided not to be disappointed that he didn't put 2 and 2 together on that one. The real sad part is I was really excited for how the car wash was going. I felt now that Walt Jr. is starting to work the register, I felt like that has spin-off potential too. Skylar and Walt Jr. running the car wash and their wacky misadventures.
I
don't know
be
if
the
that's
only
going to
one.
happen.
I can't be the only one. I never wanted that scene to end. I mean, talk about, we thought that Walt was the branding genius in the family with the blue meth, but no, it's having a one day. I mean, this is, forget Better Call Saul. This is the spinoff America needs.
It was great. Walt Jr. was so happy. He was so happy, like with the customers and interacting with Saul. I love Walt Jr. I actually love Walt Jr. more after watching the first Talking Bad that I thought actually was good was the one with the guy who plays Walt Jr., who was great, who couldn't have been like more likable, and I just was so in on him after that whole show. Now I want more Walt Jr. I don't want to lose Walt Jr.
Isn't he? He's having the time of his life. I mean, he's got to milk this, right? I mean, and I mean milk absolutely as a cereal milk joke, because all he does is eat breakfast.
Right. Well, it's funny because, The Sopranos, as it went along, and the move should have been to just kill A.J. Soprano about halfway through, because he was such a bad actor.
You'll never forgive the show for this kid.
No, I'll never forgive it. And I feel like any David Chase genius argument begins and ends with him not killing off A.J. or replacing him as an actor. But they gave him more and more responsibility. And then remember the last season, he was like prominently involved in plots and stuff. And I feel the opposite about Walt Jr. that I did about A.J.
You want more? The thing about, I will say this, I agree with you. The more times, the more opportunities Walt Jr. gets to actually do something, he actually always does well. Like the last 2 weeks when he's had to have emotional scenes with his father, that's not easy to do. I mean, most young actors aren't good at doing emotional scenes, let alone scenes against Bryan Cranston, let alone scenes when you've done nothing on camera for 2 years but just stuff your face with Eggos. I mean, the kid is ready. He's waiting for an opportunity.
Well, Walt Jr. is in the Michael J. Fox show.
I did not. Wait, he's in it too? Because Betsy Brandt is in it.
I thought Walt Jr. was in it. Oh, now I'm gonna have to research as we're talking.
Well, also, this is definitely ruining my TV Celebrator cred, because I'm only watching that show later today. I'm watching all the pilots now. But Marie plays Michael J. Fox's wife.
Oh, maybe I screwed that up.
I just want them all. I just want them all to keep working.
You're right. Betsy Brandt is gonna. Now that's gonna be weird.
Seeing her married to someone else.
Yeah, I feel.
Did you notice
that's a pretty big change from going from Hank to Michael J. Fox?
It is. It's a different dynamic. I mean, you noticed right in this season, and I don't because they're actors and they deserve to get paid and have new jobs. It doesn't bother me, but a lot of the actors on the show, other than Cranston and Aaron Paul, definitely were putting on their audition makeup this season in a way they haven't before. They were ready for new opportunities. I mean, Hank was looking slim and trim when we came back from last season. He was ready to go. Skylar's looking good. Marie's definitely doing her hair differently. They were ready for their next opportunities.
Well, it's kind of the curse of being on a great show, right? And this is The Wire for years and years. You saw anybody from The Wire, and it was just the person from The Wire. You couldn't separate the show from whatever their next acting job was, and it always felt weird to see them in commercials or guest
but also kind of good.
Roles.
Like you'd root for them. Like when State Senator Clay Davis was in, what was he in a commercial for that was on all the time? He was in his bathrobe.
Oh, yeah. Well, the best one ever was the mayor, who I never liked.
Carcetti,
Then he's really good in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he's good on Game of Thrones.
I've done a 180 on him.
I know. And then you see like the different divergent paths of the kids, where one of them turns into the greatest young actor of his generation and a guest on your podcast, and the other one is stuck on 90210 reboot. And
people love Stringer Bell. I don't watch that show. Maybe I'm making a mistake now watching that Stringer Bell show, Luther. I don't know if are you in on that show?
I'm not up on it yet. This is it's one of the few shows that predates me taking this job full time, so I just haven't caught up on it. But people that's the show that people are beating their drums loudest about me catching up on.
It's not that much. The good thing about catching up on that one is I don't think it's that many episodes.
No, it's the right. So I have no excuse. It's the British model. It's like 3 or 4 or 5 a season, and then you're out.
This is season 3. And there's only 4 episodes, so that leads me to believe there's like 12 overall. I want to talk about the bridge at some point because I've been struggling.
Yeah, I'm there for you on this.
We're going to come back to that in a second, but it's a tough watch. Yeah, I don't want to compare it to doing homework, but Breaking Bad, like the hour just flies by. Like, I always used to write about the VCR test, like when there's a great TV show and you're just glancing at the clock in the VCR. Now nobody even has a VCR, but you would glance at the clock and be like, oh crap, only 20 minutes to go. Oh no, only 12 minutes to go. I feel the opposite with the bridge. I'm watching the bridge. I'm like, 20 minutes to go.
I know.
Oof, 15. It's just a grim, dense show.
And everything pales when Breaking Bad's going. That's the other thing. Like, even good shows are not in its league and aren't, in the final sprint like that. So everything kind of feels like a chore. I mean, I was realizing today that, one of the downsides, I will never complain about getting to watch some of these shows early, like Breaking Bad. It's awesome. But one of the downsides is getting a screener on a computer. So I'm watching it, this beautiful, like widescreen show on a laptop on a tiny screen. And often that can totally remove you from the experience. But I basically almost had a heart attack and had to pop a Xanax and call my mom after watching this week's, and I was just alone in my office. So it's on a different level.
If there was a flaw, and I don't know if this was a flaw, but I think it's just because I have superhuman Breaking Bad intelligence because I just watched all 5 episodes or all 5 seasons. So it's been fresh in my mind, and I feel like I've Vince Gilligan figured out a little bit. I'm like a defensive coordinator. I know what plays he likes to run. So when Hank called Marie. Yeah. And the way they milked that moment, you wrote about it in your recap today. I almost felt like they spelled it out too much because we knew Hank had already called the Nazis.
Yeah.
We knew the Nazis were on their way. Or is neo-Nazis? What are we supposed to call them?
I think we know them well enough now to drop the formality. We can call them Nazis.
Drop the neo? Okay, the Nazis. So at that phone call, I just felt like, he kind of took this to 7th gear when he could have 4th gear would have worked and not spelled it out. I knew they were coming after that phone call. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
That's what I wrote. Historically, Nazis don't take no for an answer. So the odds were good that they were going to show up. But I kind of feel like that's Breaking Bad's genius is that I would imagine anyone who's a longtime fan of the show knew where we were headed, and it was nowhere good. But there's something about the way that the show is paced, about the way the characters react, and about the way the episodes are directed, particularly when they're directed by Michelle MacLaren, like last night, where it's almost more excruciating. It's like watching a trapeze act where that someone is going to fall and get hurt. You just don't know when it's going to happen. It is almost worse, like knowing that conversation between Hank and Marie. I mean, we don't know what happens, but that was their last conversation, right? I mean, there's no other way.
Yeah, and then the other thing, so Hank is on Sports Nation today. The guy who plays Hank, Dean Norris.
Good and I think we might keep his name out there.
Yeah, Dean Norris, and he might even be appearing on a little Grantland podcast with Chris Ryan potentially.
I heard about that. That's good.
When I saw that he was doing a little media tour today, I was mad that I had that information because I was like, Hank's getting killed at the end of this episode, and now here's the Monday media tour where he talks about his time on Breaking Bad. So I was convinced he was going to die. And then you have the 7 neo-Nazis pointing guns at him.
the odds are improved that he's going to die.
Right. They're maybe 30 yards away. They start shooting. Somehow they don't hit anybody. These are the worst shooting neo-Nazis in the history of television. How do they not even get a thigh?
Well, they're used to subcontracting the job out. To the show's credit, the only time we've seen these Nazis in action is when they were just organizing prison hits. They usually don't get their hands dirty, maybe. That is a nonsense answer, by the way. I'm just trying to make up for that.
Well, somebody should make a GIF of Landry from Friday Night Lights firing a gun, because I think he needed about 5 more minutes with Pete Berg. Little tutorial on how to shoot guns.
Just his little pop gun, yeah.
It just wasn't looking that realistic. But so somebody was able to get behind the car, and then Walt is getting peppered by bullets inside the car.
Yeah.
Jesse sneakily opens the door. So I'm guessing he gets out, right?
I assume so. I'm pretty sure that's. I mean, they wouldn't have included that scene without it. I mean, that was pretty much a tell. Yeah.
If you had to guess how the first 10 minutes play out. Well, here's my guess, and then you can do yours. I think somehow somebody shoots either Hank or his buddy
Gomi, yeah.
They shoot one of the cars. The car blows up. Probably takes out like 5 of the Nazis. But I think in the process, they get shot. I think Hank's buddy dies, but Hank doesn't die right away.
Right. I agree.
So all that's basically left are Walter, Jesse, a dying Hank, and then maybe Landry, because Landry has experience being around dead bodies from season 2 and Friday Night Lights. He knows what to do. He knows how to get out of these situations.
He knows how to get out of them scot-free. The law never laid a finger on him.
With then the story with the showrunner then pretending that never happened.
Yeah, and then he just goes off to he goes to Rice University to a promising career. He sleeps with what's her name after that. With Tyra. Everything got better for him after he murdered someone.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So I think those are the 4 that are left. I think all the Nazis get wiped out. I think Hank's partner dies. Jesse either is lingering or is able to just get away. And there's going to be the Hank Walter scene with the bleeding, dying Hank and Walt feeling bad, but not really because he's Satan.
Or Walt even being forced to pull the trigger for the final time himself. Something making him more hands-on responsible for what happens.
Put to sleep murder. I like this.
That could happen. I would push back on the Nazis all getting wiped out. As happy as it makes me to suggest that Nazis in general get wiped out, in this case, I mean, you have to remember that we're getting closer and closer to catching up to the flash forward timeline with Mr. Lambert, and he has that giant gun. So what is he doing with it, and what enemies are left for him to use it against? And it might be
right.
a compound
he has the
of Nazis.
Giant. So you're saying at the beginning of the last season, season,
right?
He's in the breakfast diner, opens the trunk, and has a massive giant gun in it, but also has hair.
Right. So there's the flash forward. He's either actually has been in New Hampshire, or it's just his disappeared identity, his fake identity. He has a $100 bill that he uses to tip the Denny's waitress, which suggests to me anyway that he somehow retains the money, or at least some of it. And he's doing the gun deal with the gun dealer he had worked with in like the 3rd season, buying an enormous gun, and then he sneaks into the house and gets the rice in. So my thought is that the Nazis definitely survive enough to the point where what they want is Walter cooking for them, or Jesse cooking for them. Those are the guys who can cook better than Todd. So I would imagine that there's one of them is going to be forcibly conscripted to cook meth again, one way or another. Maybe in exchange for the other's life, maybe in exchange for Hank's life. I don't know. But I foresee that coming. But if you really want me to predict something for next episode, my prediction is that the opening moments of the teaser will not be about the shootout at all. That we will just have either a flash forward or a flash back, or just something that will just make us wait a little bit longer, and it'll be agony.
Do you think they should have thrown in a random Todd Lydia back of the car hookup in last night's episode?
Yes.
Or at least a makeout session that got awkward and then she runs off?
I think a web series in between the main episodes, like 5 episodes of them just romancing each other, of Todd maybe playing like other Steve Perry Journey songs to her on the acoustic guitar. Just buying her lipstick and making tea. I like the secondary character so much that I'm not actually 100% kidding about that.
Landry has a history of outkicking his coverage with TV girlfriends.
Yes, and outkicking in general when it comes time to put 3 points on the board. Right.
So, yeah, good point. I didn't even think of that.
Yes.
So, so Lydia snaring a 35-year-old. I assume she's married. Is she married?
No, she's a single mother.
A single mom. That's right. Millionaire single mom, who I think is attractive.
She's very attractive.
I would have been fine with her as Brody's wife. As much as I love Brody's wife, I don't think having Lydia as Brody's wife would not have been a bad thing.
No, I would have been fine with it too. But she, I also think that Todd understands that she has a busy schedule. She's traveling a lot. She has a lot on her plate. So I feel like he wouldn't be overbearing as a boyfriend for her.
So you're choosing to call him Todd over Landry. To me, he's Landry. They should just called him Landry in the show.
I like the. You know what they should have done? Do you know how what's his name? Belzer. Richard Belzer has played the same character on something like a record 9 TV shows. He was on Law and Order. He's on Homicide, and then he guest starred on a couple. He was on 30 Rock. All as the same character. Yeah. I think that Jesse Plemons should be the new Richard Belzer. He should be Landry in every one of his roles going forward. Even in the movie There Will Be Blood, he should have been Landry.
My favorite ever of that strategy was Coolidge from The White Shadow, then became an orderly in St. Elsewhere, playing Coolidge, who's pro basketball career had vanished into thin air, and now he was just this orderly at a hospital. And then the guy who played Salami in The White Shadow, Timothy Van Patten, who became a famous director for TV, was playing another character, not Salami, on St. Elsewhere, and they were in an elevator together, and Coolidge said, Salami! And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, man, and just pretended he didn't know Coolidge.
This is one of those TV things that needs to be brought back. I really like the idea of the shared fictional universe. That's awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you could argue like there's been some great supporting characters who could have trickled back in other forms, right?
Absolutely.
Like I'm sure Wayne Knight would have been totally happy to bring back Newman on another show as a wacky next door neighbor.
I'm sure his creditors would have been thrilled too. I mean, I don't know his financial situation. I'm sure he's doing well, but that would be a great way for a guy to keep those. If you're good at one thing, why can't you keep doing it? It seems unfair.
I love how you had to
apologize to Wayne Knight.
You hurt Wayne Knight's feelings, like he's listening to the Breaking Bad podcast.
I don't know your audience. It's much bigger than what we have on Hollywood Prospectus. Like we can work a little rougher down there in the minor leagues, but when I'm up here, I got to class it up.
Yeah, we should mention that you're cheating on Chris Ryan again because you have a Hollywood Prospectus podcast with him, and sometimes Breaking Bad gets so good that I steal you away from Chris Ryan, and I get to go on a date with you. I get to go on a podcast date, and Chris Ryan just get sloppy seconds afterwards. Sorry, Chris Ryan. But
now you're sowing even further discord by just casually remarking that Chris is going to get to talk to Dean Norris. So he's going to get to do his little thing. And so now there's this discord between us. This is Heisenbergian. This is rough.
It is. I'm trying to drive a wedge between everybody. So 3 episodes left.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The plots that we need to flesh out and figure out and all that stuff that we know are going to get fleshed out. The house is foreclosed on somehow. We know that, or becomes a weird place for skateboarders to use the pool, and nobody lives there. And the
house is abandoned like a crime scene, and either someone who has knowledge of what went down has entered it and put graffiti on the wall, or Walt's. I imagine this is what happened. It was whatever Walt has done has become public because someone has written Heisenberg lives or whatever in the house. And his neighbor, Carol, certainly either thinks he's a criminal mastermind or dead or both when she sees
Right. The neighbor had the reaction, so that was a little tip-off. We know he made it to his 52nd birthday, which means that he made it at least 10 months later than what we're watching right now.
I think that some other people are keeping better track of this than I am. I think it's 3 to 6 months longer because we saw his birthday. No, maybe it's a little bit, maybe it's 9 months because we saw it last season. They were celebrating his 51st birthday. And then there was a 3-month jump, which was that whole Crystal Blue Persuasion montage at the end of last season where he cooked with Todd and then retired.
Yep.
So we're about 3 or 4 months after that birthday. So anyway, so he definitely lives at least 6 more months.
We know Marie is married to Michael J. Fox.
And living in New York City. Yeah.
And living in New York City. So things turned out fine for her.
We know Hank is under a dome.
Oh, that's true. Hank now lives under a dome.
Yeah.
So we found that out. I mistakenly said Walt Jr. is on the Michael J. Fox show. Maybe there's still time. Maybe they can work him onto that.
Let's hope, because otherwise we don't know where he's going, and that seems very ominous.
We know that Saul is probably alive because there was some spin-off talk.
Yeah, and then they walked it back to say that, well, they could always do a prequel before he met and had his life and career ruined by Walter White. But I feel like you don't, I don't know, when you got to the end of The Wire, like you knew, we always end up talking about The Wire, but you knew a lot of characters, maybe their fate was up in the air, but you knew someone like Bubbles, they were never going to kill Bubbles because the audience would have died. And I feel like Saul is that type of character. Like everyone loves him so much. He's so not that important that to kill him would just be cruel and unusual. So I think that he's fine.
Am I a bad human being? Because I couldn't stand the Bubbles character, and I rooted for him to OD in every episode.
Yes, I think the answer to that is yes.
I'm a bad human being. Wow.
I mean, I thought
never
you were
liked Bubbles. I think people mistakenly convinced themselves that the Bubble scenes were really good.
Huh. So you think if you took them out and just watched them divorced of The Greatest Show, then they would look bad?
I thought he was the Andrea Zuckerman of The Wire.
Wow. In that he was just weirdly too old for the part? Or
no, I thought you could have fast-forwarded over every one of his scenes. That would have been fine. I just felt like they were shoehorning him in. I get it. Okay, you're a junkie. You're trying to get it together. Like, whatever.
I could have done without the later seasons where he was just talking to Steve Earle a lot. But in the beginning, when he was snitching, and then remember he was getting all the copper wiring, and he was connecting all the different stories and all the different levels.
Not a top 20 interesting character in that show.
How did he do in our bracket?
Me. Huh?
How did he do in our bracket?
The Wire bracket?
Yeah.
See, this is what bothers me about Bubbles. I think it's like a weird peer pressure thing. People feel like they have to like Bubbles because of what he stands for. And the reality is he was super depressing. Every time you were inside his apartment, you wanted to kill yourself.
Yeah, but he had an apartment then. That was good for him. That was a step up.
He was a junkie. Like, what scenes with junkies are funny? Or fun, I should say.
Okay.
It was just grim. Bubbles was grim.
Because in that, he stood in contrast to the laugh riot of the rest of the Wire.
Well, at least the laugh riot of the rest of the Wire, like we had Omar, like who's Omar dating? Oh, I'm always interested to see who his new dude is.
How much cereal does he have in his apartment?
Yeah, he's mad at people. He's got his little Omar vendettas.
Okay, I can go with you as far as maybe overrating him, but I wouldn't. I would miss him. I appreciated Bubbles.
Well, he could have been in about 300 or 3 times less scenes. I would have been fine with it. All right, so Breaking Bad. Do we think Walt's alive or dead? Now with 3 episodes left, would you go alive or dead at the end of the run here?
I stand by what I said at the beginning. The show ends with him dying. There's no other way for it to end. He will be dead, one way or another, by his own hand, by someone else's hand. I don't know, but the show is about his death over 5 seasons.
If Jesse hadn't said, if real life Jesse hadn't said, Aaron Paul hadn't said, there's no way there could be another Breaking Bad movie or whatever. What did he say?
There's
no way there could be a Breaking Bad movie, or there's no way there could be another season, or this is definitely the end, or he intimated that there was no way the show could go on past the last episode.
Did you see that what occasional Grantland contributor Harris Whittles tweeted last night, where he said Aaron Paul likes Breaking Bad too much?
I thought that was interesting.
I thought that was kind of funny.
I actually kind of agree with him. I think Aaron Paul is enjoying the run a little too much. But
He is really enjoying it.
Here's the thing, though. Now we have like 30 years of history that if you're somebody like our age or Aaron Paul's age, like it's never going to get better than this.
Yeah.
He's not gonna stumble into another one of the greatest shows of all time. Like, this is it for him.
No, and odds are I think he's fantastic, but you don't know if he can carry his own show. Maybe he can, but you don't know if he can. And it's like in a talent like Cranston, where you could be this lead, and then you can also play the 5th lead in Argo, and you're just as good. Cranston is always going to work, no matter what he does, because he's just so good at everything he does. He can carry a show or be supporting. I don't know about Aaron Paul, so it's a little. He definitely is aware that the party was coming to an end, I think. So he should be allowed to celebrate.
Kyle Chandler's a good example of how to move on from a show where, we leave that show and Kyle Chandler's coach. You don't look at him as anybody else but coach. But now he did it like 7 different supporting roles.
Yep.
And he's slowly becoming Kyle Chandler.
But then his next TV role is a really weird one. Were you following that? That he took the lead in a Showtime series called Vatican?
Yeah.
Where he's going to be the Cardinal or Archbishop of New York.
But he's also coaching a football team.
That's what I'm hoping. Everyone is going to be hoping that. I mean, every review, I've already written the first paragraph of a review of a show I haven't seen, basically just wanting to spend more time on saying the extracurricular activities of a New York City priest is not a good thing to say necessarily, but I'll save that for Hollywood Perspectives. But
hey-oh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Wait, I have some breaking Friday Night Lights news.
Oh.
Talk to Pete Berg about the movie.
Oh, what'd he say?
He said it's not happening because Kyle Chandler doesn't want to do it.
I think that's great. I'm very happy about that news.
You're happy about that news. Interesting.
Happy about that news. So, I mean, I think, maybe Breaking Bad will join this list, but you can count on one hand the number of TV shows, especially great TV shows, that ended well, not just ended well, but ended sort of perfectly, where everyone is in agreement that that's how you go out. And Friday Night Lights, I would hold up as one of the best of the best. And as much as I loved that show and I want to see more Mrs. Coach, I want to see Coach, I want to see Landry kill again, I don't know how much more story there is to tell. And the chances of ruining it are just too great. I mean, when you go out like that, maybe you should just leave well enough alone.
Here's what I think the move is, because I've been thinking about this. I'm actually okay with them not having the movie for all the reasons you mentioned. But I think about 10 years from now, they should do it. Older coach, the daughter probably has a 10-year-old kid, and she's divorced, and she's working as a waitress in a diner. And maybe Mrs. Coach, maybe they separated and got back together. He's coaching this Philly football team.
Oh, and I've got a pitch for you.
His dreams never happened, but
and then
they won 8 straight titles, but he never kind of made it to that next level. Like, I would be into that.
And what about if they then continued taking a page from semi-reality, and then, because I'm sure you followed, the Buzz Bissinger Friday Night Lights book, and then in the years since that book's published, Buzz Bissinger stayed in touch with Boobie Miles, who was basically the inspiration for more or less for the Smash character, more or less kind of in the TV show. And how he has stayed involved in this guy's life who, when you star Texas football and you're the greatest celebrity in the world at age 17, and then, it's a long downhill slope after that. So what if the 10 years from now Friday Night Lights movie involves Smash's mother calling Coach for help one last time to intervene in Smash's life because he's gone down a really bad road? It's dark.
Yeah, it's not bad. But for me, Riggins is the key guy from Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
I need more Riggins. By the way, Riggins, we saw a screening of Berg's new movie, which is excellent. And Riggins is really good in it. I'm buying Riggins stock. Yeah,
I'm so buy
Riggins stock right now. Coming off John Carter and what was the other movie? The Battleship.
People are angry.
Dropped.
Yeah, people are angry when Ryan Reynolds gets parts, and they're sort of happy when the movies fail, but everyone feels so bad for Taylor Kitsch. Everyone wants him to do well.
Yeah, this is really going to help him, this movie's really good. I thought it was the best war movie I've seen since Saving Private Ryan.
Wow.
So what was that, 15 years ago?
Longer, I think, yeah.
It's really intense. It's really good. Anyway, Riggins, I think is going to make a comeback. See that when you talk about the great spin-offs that never happened, this would be a good column for you. Riggins and his brother, I felt like that could have been a spin-off show.
This is a great idea. The best, and we could throw, the continuing adventures of the White family car wash in it.
Well, think about it. Like, the best spin-off ever. Oh, that's another tough question. But the most successful recent modern spin-off is Frasier.
Yep.
They got, I think, 11 years out of Cheers, and then another almost decade-long run of Frasier.
I think it was just as long, yeah, and probably just as many Emmys for both by the end of it. I don't know the numbers, but yeah.
So that's good. But you would have thought after the Frasier thing that there would have been more. I feel like here's who I blame. I blame Matt LeBlanc.
Yep. For many things, yeah.
The Joey.
Yeah.
The Joey spinoff got everybody frightened to do spinoffs. And I just think people were burned out on Friends. I actually thought the Joey spinoff was going to be good. They just did a bad job writing and casting it. But after that, it seems like people are gun shy with spinoffs now.
But I think that the lesson not learned from Frasier is that you don't do the obvious thing. You have to have a show that stands on its own merits. And so when people were looking at that last season of Cheers, would anyone have guessed that the spinoff would be Frasier? I feel like people liked so many other characters more, like a Woody spinoff or something, just because they like Woody Harrelson. But the
right,
lesson
and that probably would have failed, right?
Yeah, I think it would have failed, because what do you do with that character that's its own thing, as opposed to him just reacting to everybody else? And so the history of spinoffs in the last 10 years, a lot of which have been commissioned and a lot of which have been filmed, but almost none of them have made it on the air, is that people just try to replicate success. Like we did a lot of stuff on the OC 10-year reunion a few weeks ago, and that was something that the network wanted desperately, was an OC spinoff immediately. And then eventually I think they went so far as to write, I don't think they filmed one starring Marissa's younger sister at boarding school, just trying to keep it going. And they did the same thing with a Gossip Girl spinoff. It's just networks wanting to recreate the exact same success instead of trying to be creative and coming at it from a different way.
Yeah, you have to go in a totally different direction. And that's why the Riggins brothers really, they had that Duck Dynasty corner and they gave it up, in my opinion.
I think you're right.
Duck Dynasty was a direct result of the Friday Night Lights franchise not expanding into the Riggins brothers, and then they left that door open.
That was the comparison I made when Mark Lasanti made me watch the show and write about it. Like it was like Friday Night Lights in the sense that it was a show about religious people and about quote unquote traditional family values, but it doesn't preach. It just was part of these people's lives, and that obviously there's a huge audience for that.
Hey, Wesley Morris, our movie celebrator, he had this idea that he introduced in a podcast about market corrections, which I've written about in my column since. But the initial thing was he was talking about how Mark Harmon couldn't have the career he should have had because Kevin Costner stepped in and took all the movie roles that he should have, that would have gone to Mark Harmon. Yeah. So then somebody sent me a great one recently about how Paul Rudd stole Ron Livingston's career.
Totally.
That if there's no Paul Rudd, Ron Livingston is now on like his 10th leading movie. Yeah. But Paul Rudd just stepped in and was like a better version of Ron Livingston, and Ron Livingston just never happened.
No, now he's playing he's playing the 5th guest star lead on Boardwalk Empire this season.
Yeah. And he looks at Paul Rudd and he's like, God, if only that guy wasn't there, I would have made it. Hey, this is a tough question to ask off the cuff because I didn't give you time to think about it. But do you feel like there are any classic TV market correction people?
You mean people who have had success on TV that took other people's parts, or people that are on TV because they didn't make it in movies?
No, people who succeeded in TV but really had the career somebody else should have had.
Oh, God, that's a really good question.
You can mull that over and answer it on the next podcast if you want.
I think I will, because there are too many possibilities, because basically, other than a very, very few exceptions, and it's from recent years, almost anyone who's starring in a TV show is frustrated that he or she is not starring in a movie and blames someone else for that. So
there were always those people that everybody got fired up for that never had the right part.
Gretchen Mol. I mean, all of Boardwalk Empire, in fact.
Right. Well, who was the one on the girl on Friends who dated Chandler for a little bit, or Joey, or one of them, but then she ended up getting, like 3 straight years she got a show, but it was always a bad show, and then she just never made it.
Paget Brewster.
Yeah, she's a good one. I'm sure she's looking at somebody just furious that she never made it.
Well, yeah, and then people turn up as like the 4th lead on the 3rd season of Californication or something. Like they stay working, but they had that moment when they were everybody, they were everything. I mean, that's all. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I always felt like Jeffrey Tambor should have had a better career.
Yeah, it just happened later for him.
But why didn't it happen? Why didn't it happen the whole time? Like, I was probably the only person who liked the Ropers growing up. I was all in on the Ropers, and I thought spinning them off was genius. I loved the show, and then they immediately canceled it. But Jeffrey Tambor was on that show. I mean, he went way back.
Yeah, I mean,
and just never happened for 15 years until Sanders came on.
I have no idea. I mean, sometimes it's just the part and then the right people noticing. I mean, because I think I heard him on the Marin podcast, and he seems very happy. He was very happy with his career before Sanders. He was working, but it was a different career. It was just night and day.
Hey, what did you think of this FXX and the spinoff and all that? The ratings were pretty good, actually, for the shows. Yeah. They pretty much held, right?
Yeah, I mean, the dip was minimal, and it was pretty much attributed to the fact that fewer people get the channel still than got the other one. So considering that out of the possible audience, that it basically held. Yeah, the premieres of It's Always Sunny and The League. Yeah, I mean, I talked to Landgraf about it. He's the president of the network. I mean, it sounds like a very cynical idea from in its origins, in that, these companies make enormous amount of money in carriage fees. Like, the more channels you have on the air, then you get paid by the cable providers for every one of them. So Fox wanted to take up more of our dial. But I think that what they did was pretty smart, because what has existed before is like, we get HBO 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there are multiple Cinemaxes and Showtimes. FX could have done that, but instead he's actually taking the creative risk of programming 3 separate but complementary networks. So I think it's going to be very risky, but in terms of the programming, it makes sense, because FX is FX, and it has Louis and the Americans and Justified. And then he has these comedies that never quite fit with those anyway, that were much more lower budget, lower brow kind of things, even though I like them. So he has a younger network sort of with an already built-in fan base. And then he did smart things like buy reruns of Parks and Rec and stuff. And then the interesting thing is happening on FXM, which used to be the movie channel, but now he's sort of trying to make it an upscale network for people who like Downton Abbey, he said. So that's the network that's going to have, I think that's going to have the Fargo miniseries, and it's going to have miniseries from other movie directors like Alexander Payne. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty risky. And if it works, then, FX will now then be on a level playing field with the HBOs of the world.
Well, to be fair, though, didn't TBS and TNT start this whole trend?
Yes, and I brought that up with him, and Landgraf really argued that, because I thought it was a problem because, well, no, but he was saying that, because what I said to him was the nice thing about FX, the reason why it was sort of a cool channel, is that it had Louis and the League and the Americans, and seemed like it was programming for a wider audience, while all the other networks are getting more and more niche. So like you have AMC, and then if the AMC is too mainstream for you, you have artier shows on Sundance, like just carving out smaller and smaller slices of the pie. And I said that it was a shame if he was going to go the TNT TBS route, putting comedies on one and dramas on the other. And he said he wasn't doing that. That it's just more towards age, where you will watch. He imagines the same person will watch shows on at least two of the three networks. So if you're 30, you'll probably watch FXX and FX. If you're 40, maybe you'll watch FX and FXM. It's kind of ambitious, but I guess they have the data. I don't know.
That sounds like an excuse. I'm not buying that.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, sure, it's an excuse, because basically here's a guy who's doing very, very well at his job, and then his reward is being told now he has to suddenly do it, but do it exponentially 2 more times. Instead of doing it for one network, now all of a sudden he has to do it for 3.
The way I've interpreted it is FXX is the funny channel, and that's going to have funny stuff on it. And then FX is going to have all of their basically best dramas plus Louis.
Yeah, I think I think that is not what he wants you to think, but that is absolutely what it looks like right now. I think that they're trying to find the drama that makes sense for FXX. If that, you know what I mean? Like they're going to try to find like an edgier.
I think ESPN should do this.
It's split by age.
No, we split up the channels, and one of them could just have all the stuff that when we try to start controversies and people are yelling at each other, that should just be its own channel. Just be everything, all that's on that channel. And then if you want to watch that channel and get mad about it, it's your fault.
I thought you'd want to split it by age demographic again. And since Olbermann's back, you could have the mustache, you could put him in a leather jacket, and you could just do ESPN2 again.
Yeah. I don't mind the concept of splitting channels. Well, maybe we'll do it with Grantland at some point.
Oh, God. Well, we did it with the podcast network.
Split us up into. Oh, yeah. I guess we did do it with the podcast network.
That was bumpy, but I think it's okay now.
Yeah, I think it's okay now. So, in your opinion, 3 episodes left. Is Breaking Bad on pace to have the best last season of any TV show ever?
The best last season of every TV show ever? Yes. Yeah, because, many other shows either sort of stumbled at the end and we've sort of chosen to forget it. Or not forgotten it, as our last conversation about Lost proved. Or a lot of the last season was sort of like wrapping up loose ends in a sort of valedictory lap. Like I love Friday Night Lights, and there was stuff going on at the end, but it really was about giving closure to a lot of storylines. As opposed to this is still on full throttle, full speed, telling us the one story that's been telling us from the beginning, and it's unprecedented, and it's terrifying. I mean, it was physically hard to watch that episode this week.
And another thing it's doing, I don't think any show has ever had a higher approval rating on the internet. And it's almost like I don't even know how you'd write the hot sports takes for Breaking Bad isn't all that, or, like just try to go the other way. It would be impossible. It's weird. It's kind of, I think this is the last time this will ever happen. This just everyone is just totally unanimous about it. Everyone is just loving it. Yeah, that's not going to happen again. That won't happen again. Eagles tonight. Good luck. Hey, thanks. It's another time ready for another adrenaline thrill ride just after Breaking Bad, right? Chip Kelly's offense will fit in will fit in perfectly with that. 80 plays a game. I think it's going to be fun to watch. I think I'll just watch the last episode of Breaking Bad again. It'll be just as painful. All right. I might call my dad just to get his reaction to Shane Vereen being out for 6 weeks with a broken wrist, apparently. Andy Greenwald, we will read you these next couple weeks as Breaking Bad winds to an end. As always, a pleasure. Talk to you soon. And if you want to hear Andy, listen to him on the Hollywood Perspectives podcast with Chris Ryan. I stole him away from that podcast today, but I'm glad I did. Talk to you soon. Thanks. All right, we're going to call my dad because there's actually some breaking Patriots news. But before we do that, I wanted to mention Stamps.com, one of our sponsors. I stopped going to the post office, I'm going to guess, 18 months ago because I started using Stamps.com. This was actually before they became a sponsor for the podcast. I don't like going to the post office. I don't like waiting in line. I don't like waiting in line for anything. But when I found out that I could just print out my own postage and do it that way and avoid the post office completely, I started doing that. So you can do that too. You go to Stamps.com. If you go into the top right of their website, and you see a little microphone, you put in a BS. That means you get deals on stuff, including a scale. You can weigh things. You don't even have to weigh postage. You can weigh anything you want. Stamps.com. Check it out. Put in the BS in the microphone, and you can get some postage, and you won't have to go to the post office anymore. And now, as promised, my dad to talk about Boston sports. Dad.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, you're on the podcast.
I'm on the podcast.
Yeah. Hey, Shane Vereen is out for a few weeks.
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear that. What happened?
Yeah. Jay Glazer is reporting he broke a small bone in his wrist on the first play yesterday. He's scheduled for surgery today, out for a few weeks.
Oh, my. He was except for Brady and Amendola, he was the best player out there.
Yeah.
I felt like so he played the whole game with a broken bone.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of Stephen Ridley next week, or actually this week, because it's on Thursday night against the Jets.
Yeah. I know he fumbled yesterday, but I think he's obviously the best back they have in terms of a power runner. He just doesn't do any of the things Vereen does. He doesn't catch out of the backfield. I mean, Vereen was really filling the old flock role, the halfback coming out. He had a lot of speed. That's with all the stuff going on. That's one of the two injuries we couldn't afford to have right now.
It's funny. After the game yesterday, obviously not a great game for the Patriots, but my one takeaway was at least nobody got hurt. We didn't see anybody limping off heading to the locker room, so that's good because we're playing the Jets on Thursday.
And they interviewed Vereen extensively. Both of our Boston papers had quite a few quotes from him after the game. So he certainly never indicated he was in any pain. So it was a bone in the hand, huh?
Yeah, it looks like a wrist. I never talked to you yesterday. That's one of the reasons I'm calling you. That wasn't a great Patriot game. I didn't really leave that game feeling good.
Well, they open on the road. I think Buffalo's been a tough, even though we've been winning in Buffalo, I don't think too many of the games have been that easy. The crowd was really in the game. That game would have been 17-0 and probably a rout. And then the fumble happened. And the whole momentum shifted, and now it's 10-7. Without that fumble, we're probably going in to score, and it might have been a 35-7 game. So
yeah, we have Bill Barnwell in Grantland, and he doesn't believe momentum exists in sports. I would submit yesterday's Pats game as Exhibit A for why momentum matters in sports, because that game was headed toward being over. We were rolling down the field going to score again, and then all of a sudden it was a 14-point swing, and it felt like a game.
Yeah, it reminded me of when Dempster hit A-Rod in that Yankee game, and suddenly the Yankees got all excited, banded together, the crowd got in the game, Yankees won, and then they won, I think, 8 out of 12. That crowd was dead, and if we had scored there, half that crowd would have left at halftime. So,
did you enjoy this 27 times we threw to Tompkins and completed like one of them?
Yeah, he has a little work to do. I like his athleticism, and obviously has good size and good speed. Some of those mistakes, he had a little bit of the deer in the headlight look. He's too far in the end zone to come down. Doesn't come down.
He's
on the
out of bounds
sidelines
twice.
Yeah, I mean he's catching the ball. He just got to have his feet in bounds to make the catch count. But in 2 weeks when Gronkowski, well, now you're telling me Varina's out, so we got Gronkowski coming back, and I'm assuming with him back, with the rookies gaining a little experience, with Varine complementing Ridley terrifically in the backfield, but now that's all going to shift. I wish the Jets had lost the other day. They're going to come in with a little bit of mojo, don't you think?
They threw to Tompkins 14 times. He caught 4.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I thought he just looked like a rookie yesterday. It was basic stuff like, hey, you got to get both feet down when you catch the ball and stuff like that. I thought he was getting open, though.
He was getting open. He's got good hands. There were kind of funny things that he was doing. The one time they showed where he and Edelman just ran into each other. I mean, you don't see that happen too often.
Yeah. The Amendola had some great catches, but while watching that game, you also think like, oh, this must be why this guy keeps getting hurt. He makes these impossible, crazy, acrobatic catches with 2 guys hitting him, and he's landing on all these different parts of his body. And I'm basically terrified anytime he's in the air trying to catch a pass. I thought he was great, though, yesterday.
Yeah, I agree with you. I never expected. I didn't know if he would. He didn't come out at halftime. I mean, they reported that he hadn't come out of the locker yet. I mean, even in the paper today, they said the whole second half he would kind of limp out of the huddle, but when he got to the line of scrimmage, he was like Superman. He made catches I haven't seen too many players in my lifetime make, but you're right. He's contorted in the air. He seems to have great hands, but it's easy for you to come down in your elbow or your wrist or break your hand.
But we have the same problem we had last year. We don't get any deep passes. It's all like pick, 10 yards, 12 yards, 8 yards, 7 yards. We don't, like, you watch that Denver game on Thursday night, and now granted that game got out of hand pretty fast for Baltimore, and I think their defense wore down in the third quarter, but Denver made what did they have, 5 or 6 30-yard plus plays?
Yeah, we didn't have
They just
those.
get these big-ass plays. And even the Giants yesterday, the Giants were terrible against Dallas and should have lost that game by 1,000,000 points. But they got 3 giant plays, and they were able to hang around.
We don't have that one receiver. I watched the Giant game like you did. Cruz made 3 terrific long catches where he got open.
Randall made one too, I think, and Knicks had one. They must have had 5 or 6 long passes.
And if you watch, I'm sure you did watch the Green Bay San Fran game.
Yeah, same thing.
That guy got open behind the secondary. The only time we did, Edelman got open a couple times, had the ball go through his hands, but he's not. Yeah. I mean, I know Dobson was supposed to, and the 2 rookies.
Boys. Yeah, both of them.
But Dobson wasn't suited up yesterday, and Boys was a no-show. Or at least I didn't see him. I don't remember him getting thrown to.
He played. He got thrown to twice. He didn't have a catch.
Okay.
Yeah, they tried to. Obviously, Gronkowski is another guy who'd be the deep threat, but they were hoping one of those rookie receivers would be able to stretch the field.
Well, I think, though, it's a little bit. I'm not sure yesterday's the game. They always use their tight ends to bring the safeties into the middle of the field, and that's when they hope that their wide receivers can get open deep. Our tight ends weren't doing that yesterday, so their safeties could play pretty far back.
Yeah. Well, I do worry about, in this day and age with where football's going, it does seem like you need to be able to bang out four of those plays a game against a good team. Like even San Francisco, Bolden normally isn't that type of receiver, but yesterday he was just making big play after big play. Vernon Davis had one. Then on the other side, the Packers were making some big plays too.
Yeah, I was watching Bolden yesterday. I didn't even realize he left. I just didn't follow it, that he left Baltimore, went to play for Harbaugh's brother. Why didn't we get that guy?
Well, we could have. It was Baltimore offered 4. They want to come to 4, and San Fran, I think, was giving him 6, which is basically what we gave Amendola.
Yeah. But they're different players.
Did you get upset watching Welker on Thursday?
I I saw a part of the game. I didn't stay up for the whole game. I saw how many. I certainly saw the highlights, and you knew that was going to happen. I mean, he complements those other wide receivers beautifully.
Well, they have the one guy that we don't have, and we haven't had since Moss. The Moss milk cart started to spoil, but Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah.
And actually, that tight end that nobody even heard of that guy. I hadn't. Julius Thomas had a couple big plays too. I think he was.
Yeah, I saw him have a couple of significant plays during that game. Yeah.
There's a chance that Denver team. I was looking at them as I thought maybe last year was their window. And then their defense was worse this year. No Von Miller for the 6 games. They lost Doomerville. That maybe they weren't going to be as good. And then just if that Julius Thomas is going to be good, it's going to be so easy for them to score, especially if they're running 80 plays a game. That's the team. The Denver fans are going to laugh because last week they were mad at me because I didn't pick them. I picked them to be behind the Pats. But if you're just looking at the AFC, I think easily that's the team I'm the most afraid of, right? There's no other team you're afraid of on the level of that team.
No, not on the level of that team. I would say, though, that historically they always play better at home. And
true.
So I don't know their schedule. I don't know what really difficult road games they have this year, but I'd be paying attention to those because they're just not the same team. Manning isn't the same on the road either. And their running game is still a little bit suspect. So I'd like to see them against a good team. If that game had been in Baltimore, that would have been an interesting game.
And Baltimore, it really did come. They dropped a touchdown at the end of the first half. They didn't challenge that one Welker catch, which I don't know if you were asleep by then, but that was another example of just a momentum shift because all of a sudden they were down 10 in that game. And the way they're built, I don't think the Ravens can play from behind this year, which is I thought the one telling thing we learned from that game.
Right.
Was they don't have enough receivers to play from behind.
No, suddenly they're short.
Yeah.
I mean, the people they lost, both the tight end and Bowden, that's going to hurt them. Yep.
And Jacoby Jones is now out for 6 weeks, and they're in the same spot we're in, where they have all these young guys who haven't done anything, who now are in big spots, and they got really tired. Their receivers got tired as that game went along.
Right.
They're at the Giants, they're at Dallas, they're at Indy, at San Diego, at New England, at Kansas City, at Houston, and then they finish things at Oakland.
All right, so they have some tough road games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to be good, though. I mean, the good thing for us is we got this Jets game out of the way that at Jets maybe would have been a tougher game, I think, at the end of the season if it was a Thursday nighter, but to have that week 2, the Jets really weren't that good yesterday. Tampa was bad. Geno Smith made a couple plays, but the bottom line is if that guy doesn't do that stupid late hit penalty, I don't think the Jets win that game yesterday.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Yeah, so, I'm glad we have them early.
They have no running game.
And then we get 11 days of rest.
Right.
And hopefully Gronkowski comes back. So did they indicate how long Vereen's going to be out?
They said a few weeks.
Okay. I mean, it's fortunate that they went ahead and re-signed that Leon Washington. I can see him playing that role. Maybe certainly not as effectively, but he could play that role 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah, maybe they get a few plays at him. I'd like to see him on the kickoffs. I'm tired of having bad kickoffs.
Well, he wasn't ready. They just re-signed him when the other guy, their running back Bowden, wasn't going to be able to play for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I had some people over yesterday, and the first kickoff went to LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah.
And somebody who was there was like, LeGarrette Blount's returning kicks for you? Or I was like, yeah. And he got tackled on the 13 or the 14. It was like, oh, great.
Well, he was a real disappointment. I mean, he's such a big guy, and he seems to run into a defender and fall down.
Yeah, he
can't make any cuts. He doesn't have a lateral game. He just is straightforward.
I don't know. I'm not positive he's going to be in the team in like 5 weeks.
The other play yesterday, the Brady fumble on the goal line.
Yeah.
No, but it was unclear what that play was intended to be. It didn't look like a quarterback sneak. It was.
I gotta say, I don't know if I'm right on this, but I'm guessing I am, just because I feel like I've seen every Patriot game Brady's played. I don't ever remember him doing that before. I don't ever remember him fumbling
Right.
either on the goal line or in a situation like that. It just never happened. If it's happened, I don't remember it. But I thought that was stunning.
It was
Couldn't
kind of
believe
funny.
that
And
happened.
I don't know if you saw. You probably wouldn't have. Because it was a Boston interview later, and they asked him if he pulled out early, and he started laughing.
Oh, really?
It was just a poor choice of words.
Yeah.
But he did look like he pulled away early, didn't it?
Yeah, something got screwed up on that.
Yeah.
That probably should have been a loss. I feel
definitely.
like it went from we were going to win by 30 points to they easily could have lost that game if 7 different plays didn't happen.
Yeah, but we should have won that game by 30 points. And
right, it went. We shouldn't have ever lost it to.
Right.
Oh, we probably should lose this to.
Right.
Oof, thank God. I will say though, I was really impressed by EJ Manuel. I thought he was good. I liked the way he played. Right?
If I was a Buffalo fan, and I didn't we don't get to read the Buffalo newspaper, that fourth quarter coaching decision making that was going on where they stayed in their hurry up offense the entire fourth quarter, that was bizarre. I mean, they didn't milk the clock at all, so that if they went 3 and out, they used a minute. I think they needed to shift their gears there and go to a slow down offense. They gave us too many opportunities to win the game.
I like the way they played. I think they're going to be pretty good. They'll be frisky every week. That quarterback's good. I had the 4 TVs going yesterday, and we saw a lot of bad quarterback play.
Yeah.
And that guy was pretty competent. And the other thing is,
very good.
They didn't run the ball really at all. CJ Spiller, 17 for 41. Fred Jackson was actually better than him. But
I think they did the same thing to Spiller that the Giants did to Wilson after the fumbles. They basically Spiller got in for a couple plays, but
yeah,
I like their running back combo. The fumbles, though, you can't live with that.
They're gonna be all right.
They're gonna be all right. They have a tough front 7.
And
we were having trouble running the ball in the beginning.
Well, and they were missing 2 of their best D-backs too. That was why I picked the Pats giving the 10 because I thought we'd just be able to throw whenever we wanted on them. But
again, it could have been 24-0 at halftime.
True. Then Miami. Well, I know you don't have the package, so you didn't see that game.
They seem to win decisively.
Their defense dominated that game. Their defense looked really good, and they didn't run the ball at all, and they still won by 13. I mean, Brandon Weeden was involved. He killed the Browns a couple times. But
the thing that I loved in the paper today, actually, it was on the internet. Wallace was complaining that he wasn't used enough in the game. So
that was great.
You love to see a little dissension after the first game from your number one receiver.
They win, and he's complaining. So Miami, I didn't think they were going to be good. The 2 teams I might have been wrong on are Miami and Detroit, because Detroit beat the crap out of Minnesota yesterday. They really could have won that game by 20.
Well, it's about time. I mean, Detroit how many years in a row did they have a top 5 pick? And they typically went for defense. And although I heard Bush got hurt yesterday at the end of the game.
Yeah, he was playing hurt throughout the game. The nice Red Sox, kind of, even though they lost yesterday, they think we finally put away the Yankees at least. Yeah,
it would have been nice. I mean, like most people in New England, I was channel flipping throughout the 2 games. And when Middlebrook hit the home run in the top of the 9th to tie it up, you just could feel the momentum once again shifting and us pulling that game out. It was a tough way to lose it. But
the 2-game lead over Oakland, 3-game lead over Detroit.
Right.
For the top seed in the AL, which means
the
we
other
play
thing
the wild
that's
card.
happening is now all the division teams play each other.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see, it's going to happen to us too, but it's going to be tough for a team to go on a winning streak.
Tampa is in like a semi free fall, which I didn't expect.
Yeah, they won yesterday.
Right, but they had lost, I think, they had lost like 7 of their last 9 or something.
Now we play them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Who would you rather play in the playoffs, Texas or Tampa?
That's a tough one. If I had home field, maybe Texas. I don't think their starting pitching is as good as Tampa.
The problem with Texas, though, is you get Darvish twice.
Yeah.
Although I guess Tampa, it's not a picnic either. But I just hate the fact that we got to have the 1 seed, but in game 1 of the first series, we're going to clearly have the worst pitcher. No matter what pitcher we put out, is not going to be as good as.
Except if Texas and Tampa play the 1-game play-in game, Texas will throw out Darvish in that game. We're not going to face him in game 1. He won't pitch twice against us.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you're rooting for a play-in game. Interesting. I like that.
I'm rooting for Texas and Texas and Tampa to be in the play-in game.
You're rooting for a Texas-Tampa play-in game.
Texas-Tampa playing game, And both of them will have to pitch their aces. We get, I think, if we win the division, 3 or 4 days off. We have our pitching rotation set up. And whether it's Tampa or Texas, their number 1 starter isn't going to be pitching game 1 against us. That's what I'm rooting for.
I'm rooting for whatever scenario gets Baltimore the wild card.
Well, that'd
be the best. Yeah. I'll take Baltimore. They're only 2 games behind Tampa right now. They're 5 behind Texas, though. In my opinion, Texas.
I don't want to play Texas, now that I think about it.
Because here's the thing with Texas. As you said, everybody's playing everybody else in their division this month.
Right.
So Texas has the Angels, Seattle, and Houston in their division.
Yeah, but so does Oakland.
True. But Texas
Oakland has
goes.
The lead.
Texas. Oh, wow. Texas is playing Pittsburgh the next 3 days.
Yeah.
Then Oakland, then they're at Tampa, at KC. And then they finish Houston and the Angels. But that next week and a half is pretty brutal.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they finish Houston and the Angels. But, yeah, I mean, we've had a brutal lineup. And we continue. We have 3 against Tampa, 3 against the Yankees. Then we get Baltimore. I mean, I like how the division teams play each other. I think it's significant at this time of year.
It was fun getting the blown save out of Rivera.
I was kind of laughing. I don't know if you saw him when they won the game with the wild pitch, and he was laughing and so happy. I don't know what he was laughing and so happy about. We have his number.
He's your age.
Well, yeah.
We play 3 more games against them this week, actually, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I know.
And then that's it.
At least they're here. I mean, they're in Boston.
I want to just make sure he's actually retiring.
Yeah,
I think he should have to sign something to confirm.
Did you read the comments by Giardi that he's still going to try to talk him into 1 more year?
Well, last night we were watching Tony Gonzalez on the biggest play of that Saints-Falcons game. They threw to him in quadruple coverage. He didn't catch it, but that guy retired 9 months ago. He came back.
Right.
I think these guys, they retire and then they spend 5 months with their family and they're like, oh my God, what am I doing?
We should take up a collection and send it as a retirement present so that Rivera can't change his mind. I don't want him to come back.
He should be forced to sign a contract that he has to stick to his decision. Yeah. I feel like he's going to come back because he's still good. I'm still scared of him. I mean, he wasn't great on Thursday night, but it's still he still throws that stupid cut fastball, and he's still scary.
Don't you think he's probably the only reliever you've ever seen come in where you were scared of the reliever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it's weird, ever since 2004, pre-2004, it was like we had no chance. It was never going to score against him ever. But then after the Roberts, at least it seemed like it was conceivable, you know?
Right.
But I was thinking about it on Thursday night, actually, watching that game, how weird it was going to be. Like next year, that'll be like Phil Hughes or somebody. Just won't feel the same, you know.
It won't feel the same, but I'll have a little more optimism at the end of each game.
Last question. Yeah, much more optimism.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the beards? I mean, you're a proponent of out of the box facial hair because you've had the handlebar mustache
like it
since like 1970.
I think back to last year when the team had no camaraderie. It was like 25 guys in 25 cabs, and this year it's the exact opposite. And whether the stupid beards mean that they're all doing something the same and together, and they're getting laughs out of it, and when Napoli hits a home run, they're pulling his beard, and for me, that's all about team chemistry. So for that reason, I like it a lot.
I agree, and it seems like Johnny Gomes has been really important with that.
Yeah.
We have good guys, Victorino and Johnny Gomes and Napoli. It seems like even like when I went to the Dodgers game, you came with me.
Yeah,
just watching them all standing in the dugout, and they just seemed like they had like a genuine like for one another, which it's weird to think that matters in baseball, but we've rooted for teams when we didn't have that, and you could see it, and the team always sucked.
Well, it's one of the lasting memories from the 2004 Red Sox team, that camaraderie that we're all in it together. We'll go to bat for each other. We have each other's back. I know we won in 07. It was a different kind of team. This team this year certainly reminds a lot of people of the 04 team because
it
of
has a similar
chemistry.
Spirit. Yeah, similar spirit to it.
Yeah. And Johnny Gomes seems to be playing the Kevin Millar role for a lot of people.
Right. And he's one of those guys, his stats aren't good, but I feel weirdly confident every time he's up in a big spot. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
I always feel like he's going to at least have a good at-bat. Victorino's been good since the All-Star break, too. I think his slugging's over like 500. And Middlebrooks they sent him down, and that's been big. And he had the big
I looked
hit
in
yesterday.
The paper today when they sent him down. He was hitting 192, I think, and now he's hitting 245. So obviously he's been hitting over 300 since they brought him back, which I'm glad about because you wondered about next year in third base, and I hope he is that third baseman of the future.
I just looked it up. He's at 368.
368 since
batting since All-Star break. 87 at bats, 621 slugging, 6 homers. It's interesting because Hench and I were talking about whether they screwed up trading Jose Iglesias. Although Peavy's you can't argue with the Peavy part of that trade, but just whether they should have kept Iglesias and moved Bogarts to third base and done the Manny Machado routine with that. And if Middlebrooks is good, then that's not an argument. But it has been tough watching Iglesias on SportsCenter every night.
Yeah, and he seemed like David Ortiz had really taken him under his wing. He seemed like a great teammate. It's funny, I had a conversation with a friend about could we have traded somebody else in order to get Peavy? And maybe the trade wouldn't have happened without Iglesias in that trade, but I wish we could have thrown somebody else in there.
The irony is that if we end up playing them.
I know.
This really could happen. And he's really helped their season. There's just no question. He's been a real help. They didn't have a shortstop. They were going to be looking at, those Nick Punto types.
I really thought his average would be by now like 270, 280. I noticed this morning it's 320. Had a home run yesterday. And obviously he's a terrific defensive player. So
he's hitting 300 for them. 101 at-bats, in 300, 343 on base. Wow. He's on SportsCenter every night.
Yeah. But
Peavy's been great. Can't argue with Peavy.
No, but, Peavy, we have him one more year, then you don't know. Iglesias looks like he's going to be around another 15 years. So it's one of those trades you just don't know about.
The one thing with Peavy that I like is, especially like at Fenway, Lester and Lackey, Lester hasn't been terrible this year. Lackey's obviously exceeded all expectations, but there's like a charisma that those guys lack. And Felix is the same way. Peavy, it feels like a big game when he pitches at home, like those Friday night games. Like if he pitches in this Yankee series, there's just something commanding about him. It reminds me of when we got Schilling. Remember in Schilling in 2004 when every time he came, it was like, oh, this is cool. This guy this guy knows what he's doing. I feel that way about Peavy.
I kind of feel the same way about him, though, pitching on the road. I'm thinking about Dubron, who all of a sudden, once you get to the month of September, I liked how he pitched all year, but now he has deer in the headlight look. Whereas Peavy has total command entering the enemy ballpark, and maybe it's just one of those trades where it works out for everybody because Garcia did very well for Chicago, and you have to give up something to get something that helps your team. So you can't look back. Good
trade all the way around.
Yeah,
what are they saying about Buchholz?
He's starting tomorrow night, but he's on a 80-pitch limit.
Because if he doesn't come through, then the options for the number 4 starter in the playoffs are either Dubron or
Well, I don't
Dempster.
think you can judge. I mean, it's September, what's today, the 9th? I mean, we have 3 more weeks. So
No, I don't mean come through tomorrow. I mean, if he doesn't get his act back together if he's not in Clay Buchholz form in October, then we're looking at Felix or Dempster starting Game 4 of a playoff series.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
I figured you wouldn't enjoy that much.
But I'm confident that Buchholz, by that time, is going to be one of your top 4 pitches. And then we're looking okay.
I got to say, this is weird, but I'm not totally against Felix in a playoff game if it was the right team.
Yeah, he has to...
he's streaky. But he actually could...
He's just been streaky bad lately, though.
Right, but in June and July, he was great.
Yeah, I know.
And now he was bad in May. Now he's in another bad streak in August, September. But maybe it comes back around in October. But I do like the hard-throwing lefty thing is not, and he's 25. I don't know. I'm not rooting against him.
No, I'm not either.
Dempster, I've pretty much given up on emotionally. I never feel good when he's pitching.
I think, though, Dempster, by giving it looks like their plan is to give Dubron a little bit of a rest, bring him out of the bullpen, and because I thought they were going to take Dempster out, but they're not. They're leaving him in for now.
Yeah, I'm looking at Dubron. 161 innings last year and 29 starts. This year he's 154 innings and 27 starts. Maybe he's getting a little tired. Yeah. His strikeouts aren't the same that they were last year, which is a little concerning.
And he took it really well. I saw him interviewed last night, and he said, I could use a little rest, just rejuvenate myself. I like coming out of the bullpen, and then I'd love to start again. So
sounds like maybe some PEDs maybe for him. Maybe we'll add him to the list. We'll give him some. Dad, always a pleasure. Sorry about Shane Vereen.
Thanks for that news, by the way. I just was online and I didn't see that.
We're looking good though. I like the Pats Red Sox combo right now. I'm feeling semi-confident. I'm sorry. The Celtics are going to go 20-62, but that's fine. You can't win them all.
All right. Well, let's go Pats. Let's go Red Sox.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you. Bye.
Target the sound off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Podcenter at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.
Hey, what you got there, Golick?
The new Subway Chipotle chicken melt with guacamole.
Man, that looks good.
Yeah, this new guac is really bringing the flavor.
Got one for me too, right?
Well, yes and no. Mostly no. Well, really, all no.
Try the irresistible new Subway Chipotle chicken melt with guacamole, juicy grilled chicken strips with Monterey cheddar, Chipotle Southwest sauce, and new guacamole made from ripe Hass avocados with just a hint of jalapeno. Subway, eat fresh.